Hello and welcome back to Nintendo Nostalgia. This is Josh, and I'm here with our co-host Chris.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest. He is the sound designer and composer of Kaze and the Wild Mask. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, so cool to be here. I'm Paolo Bohrer. I'm a Brazilian sound designer and composer. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Josh and Chris. Really exciting. I'm a little bit nervous, but yeah, let's do this.
Thank you so much for joining us. Seriously, this is so awesome. When I heard about this, I was just over the moon. So thank you so much for joining us, really.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, I'm still nervous every time I try the opening. For some reason, I seem to mess up right from the get-go sometimes. So I think we did all right.
I think it'll be fine in a few more years.
Well, anyhow, without wasting too much time here, we are going to go ahead and get started with a couple things. All right, so without wasting too much more time here, we're going to actually go ahead and jump straight into what we are Radical Rexing about. All right, guys, so we will go ahead and start with you, Paulo, if that is all right. Let you go first. What you got
Yeah,
going
sure.
on? Been playing anything good lately?
Actually, I think I'm kind of addicted to a game. It's been almost 3 months now. I started playing, I don't know why, but I started playing Final Fantasy 14. So that's
wow.
an MMO. It's been like almost 10 years since the last time I played an MMO. And it's been 3 months, and I already have more than 300 hours in the game. Sorry about that. And so that's basically what I'm doing with my free time lately. Besides that, I'm really excited because I just heard today that people under 40 years old are starting to get vaccinated in Brazil.
Yeah.
So my time will be very, very soon, and I'm very happy because of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Which console are you playing Final Fantasy 14 on?
I'm playing on the PS5.
Oh wow, very nice.
The upgraded version. It looks really good, especially for an MMO. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I the only thing I know about Final Fantasy 14 is that, and I could be wrong, maybe I'm thinking of a different one, that it had like a pretty rough start at first, but like over time they kept updating it, and now it's like one of everyone's favorites, everyone's favorite Final Fantasy game. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool turnaround story, you know.
Yeah, I started playing just recently, but that's what I heard too, that it was a mess in the beginning, and they redid a lot of the game and released it again, the name Realm Reborn, and then it was a big success. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's really cool because it's a game. It's a lot about the story, so it's different for an MMO. You get so immersed in that story. It's a very fantastic world. Really good game.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard very good things. My friend is really addicted to it. I doubt it's ever going to come to Switch, but it could be coming to like the next Switch, you know. So who knows? But yeah, I hear very good things, and I do hope to get a chance to play it someday. So
yeah,
cool.
I really hope it does, because it does get released on Switch, because I'm playing with my wife and she's playing on the PC, so we get like in different rooms in the house. So I always think, oh, if this game comes out on Switch, we'll be able to play on the couch, the two of us at the same time. Together. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, seriously. Ever since the Switch came out, it just opened up this fantasy of playing every game however you want. So whenever a game doesn't have that ability, it's just like, when is this going to come? Yeah, I feel you.
Awesome. What about you, Chris? What is awesome in your life? What's happening?
Well, it's been pretty stressful for me lately. I'm taking a class, like a summer grad class, and it's been really interesting, but tomorrow is the last day and I have a major paper due. So I've been doing that in bits and pieces, and it's very, very intense, but a very interesting topic. So I haven't really been playing too many games lately because of that, but I did have a friend over I think it was like last week, and I set up my TV outside. I have like a little netted canopy outside in my backyard, so put the TV there. I brought my GameCube and my Switch out, and we just played new Pokemon Snap, and he just watched me play new Pokemon Snap because he loves Pokemon and he didn't feel like playing. I was like, okay, great. And it's a great game. I mean, that game is beautiful, and I just still can't believe we got a sequel to Pokemon Snap. It's just one of those things where I wake up every day. I'm like, wow, that really happened. But yeah, pretty much just that. I've been playing a little bit of Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes because we'll be doing an episode on that shortly. So that's a great game that I want to do the game justice by having a very comprehensive-ish episode on that. And Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. Josh and I will be making an episode on that shortly as well. And it was a game that I was gonna play in like bits and pieces, but I've been playing it just to relax lately. It's just a great relaxing game. So that's been fun. And I guess the last thing I'll mention is I don't know if I'm rexing about this, but I am relieved that the new Switch OLED model was just announced today. I don't know how I feel about it, like if I'll be getting it or not, but it is nice to know that these Switch Pro rumors can rest for a little bit longer until the next one, you know. But it's pretty cool that it has a bigger screen, and it comes with white Joy-Cons. I like that look. But I think, honestly, that I'll be keeping the one that I have. I just like my Mario Red Joy-Cons, and LCD screens are perfectly fine for me. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a pretty cool random announcement for today. But that is just about it for me.
Since video games are so expensive here in Brazil, I kind of feel relieved that it's not like a totally new version, 4K, you know, something that a game could play in both versions, but I would feel like I was missing something if I didn't get the new one. So it makes me happy on one side because I don't have to buy a new console, very expensive one.
Exactly. There's two types of announcements. Like, one, you're excited to get the new thing, or you're excited because it's not that exciting and you can save a little bit of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for me on that, actually, I think I feel the same way. Is I was more excited that it's happening and I don't have to run out and get it. It's coming out in the same month as Metroid Dread. I can't remember the full name of the Mario Party game, but and also Super Monkey Ball, and all of those interest me, especially Metroid.
True.
So it was like I already have to figure out how I'm going to come up with enough money to maybe get as many of those as I can, and I'd like to save up for like one of either an Xbox or PS5 or whatever. So I was hoping, it sounds negative. I was gonna say I was hoping it would be a little underwhelming, I guess. But yeah, I mean, outside of that though, I've kind of have a habit of jumping around on different games here and there. So I've been playing a lot of Mario Golf. I really do enjoy the new one. I've even been playing it with my 6-year-old some. Believe it or not, she's pretty good at it. Really like the speed golf. I think that's just a fun, sort of silly new mode they added into there. But it's a lot of fun on multiplayer. Played it with a couple friends as well. So I'd recommend that if you've played any of those before. Along with that, I guess I've been back into Kaze on and off a little bit, just kind of poking around on it, trying to, get my head back in the space of, ready to talk about it and all that sort of thing. And gosh, I'm trying to think. I've jumped around so much lately. My birthday was last Friday, so I got Hades.
Nice.
I'd been looking forward to try that, and that's not the kind of game I'd usually play. Like I don't usually play rogue. There's not really a reason. I just kind of haven't. But I really like it. I'm like,
wow.
At first I'm like, oh, this is pretty tough. I don't know what I think. But then it's like the more I get into it, I've made it to like the end of the third world or section or whatever it is, and I've gotten stuck on that boss 2 or 3 times now. But it's like the more it sends you back, the more I'm like, no, I'm doing this again, and you just want to do another run and another run. I'm like, yeah, I kind of see how this can be addicting.
Yeah.
So
oh wow, a game that Josh likes. How unusual.
I know. I probably like too much. Also got Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, that remake, and that's pretty cool. I know reviews were kind of everywhere on it, but I've I've had a really good time with it. Went back through it like twice now, so that's a fun little throwback.
Oh
Um,
wow. How is it like gameplay wise? I think I heard that it's like insanely hard. Do you think that's true?
Insanely hard and like if you've heard the term like NES hard, it's not a NES
Yeah.
game, it's Master System, but it's around that same time period. So if you leave the extra lives on, especially by the time you get to the end, it's kind of brutal. There is an infinite lives mode if you want to do that.
Okay.
It does make it kind of short, I guess, if you do it that way. But maybe it's just around 32 now, but it didn't feel that off to me, I guess.
Yeah.
Something you could tell it was a little aged, but it wasn't bad any means, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like for a remastered game like that from that type of era, we know it doesn't age as well as, a more recent game. And the whole point of it is to kind of bring it back with a fresh coat of paint and with that really interesting, beautiful art style. So, yeah, I'm with you there. I would be totally fine with having all these extra lives just so I can experience the game. So, yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad you like it though.
Yeah, so that I'm sure there's something else I've hopped in and out of, but I can't even remember at this point. I need to get back into Game Builder Garage or Game Garage Builder. I always forget the name.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I've been keeping up with some of my, well, trying to keep up with some of my Udemy classes. I'm pretty sure I say the website wrong, but where I took the narrative design one for gaming, another writing class, and I'm in the middle of like I've never been like awesome at drawing, but I'm taking a class on character artist and things like that, just trying to get a good grounding of at least a sketch to go along with a narrative, so I can
Yeah.
sort of make a nice, neat little package out of it. Just hoping to make something out of that someday, very much so.
So you're studying game development?
I would very much. It's complicated, but it's kind of turned from that silly dream almost. I feel like I looked at it like as a kid to like that. You know what? Like I'm I'm really starting to dig more into this, and I think I just need to go for it in some form or another. I
That's
think this
cool.
is where I'm gonna try to shoot for it. So it's just being around it enough and digging into it enough on a daily basis and going here and there and all that sort of thing. It's like okay, I want to try to shoot for this. I'm not. Nobody from my current job will listen to this anyway. I was gonna say I'm not into what I'm doing now, so I want to do something that I actually have a heart for. So, but
Yeah.
outside of that, we've just got a lot of busy, crazy family stuff. So running here and there constantly. So it is what it is. It's mostly good. So,
Cool.
but yeah, outside of that, I guess we will go ahead and kind of hop to the next bit here. What do we have? We have a few Facebook questions, it looks like, and a voicemail we want to go through.
We actually
Well,
have two voicemails. Jacob just left one apparently.
yes, he did. It looks like that just now popped up. All right, so we'll go ahead and play Ryan's voicemail here first, if that is cool. Where we were off a week or two there. I think it's more kind of just he's talking about E3 some more there, and then we'll jump into Jacob's.
What's up, NOS crew? This is Isaac. Just wanted to say thank you for taking my calls. I really appreciate it and giving you guys a shout out. I just wanted to call in though, share some of my excitement. I just got Mario Golf Super Rush. Can't wait to jump in, play. I guess you guys probably are as well. I've been talking about it. It's one of the games I was looking forward to for this year. But also wanted to call in about the E3. So much to cover on that. I appreciate how you guys have been covering that, talking about it in the different episodes. But one thing that obviously ones are talking about is the new Metroid Dread. It's got me super excited. I am really looking forward to it. I can't wait to play it. One thing that made me think though was how the special edition, it just looked really cool. It came with a steel book. There's some other goodies in there, but unfortunately, you can only get it online. I just stopped in at GameStop the other day and was asking about it, and I guess GameStop does not do special edition games in store. You have to go online now to pre-order, which is kind of a bummer because anymore, if you have something online, it's sold out within 5 minutes due to bots and scalpers. So thought I'd get you guys' thoughts. How do you get any special editions of games? If that's something maybe that's you've had to adjust to, there's some way to keep an eye on it, track it. I've been wanting to get that special edition for how long it's been since we've had a true 2D Metroid game. I mean, it's been 19 years, as I said, since Fusion. So I want to get your feedback on that. But as always, shout out to you guys. Keep up the good work, and look forward to future episodes. You guys take care.
All right, thank you, Isaac, for calling in. I actually have a quick tip on that myself, at least the way I've sort of gotten away with it. I was able to pre-order the special edition for Dread like right after it was announced because of this. If you're on Twitter, I follow at Nintendeal and Wario64, I think is the name of the other one, and I'll have notifications turned on to those for like everything, and they're usually one or the other usually catches them pretty quick. I would recommend maybe trying to follow them. Outside of that, really, it's just if I get lucky, honestly, or one of the groups I'm in is like, hey, this is up. So I'm not sure if I have any other better tips than that myself. You all know of anything?
Yeah, no, I totally feel for him. I do like to get special edition games, or I'm more of like I like getting limited run games of indie games. That's been my thing over the past few years. That's just one of my favorite things in the world. I have gotten a few special edition games because I do love art books. I forget if it comes with one, but I kind of just ordered this because I kind of figured that it would go quickly. And honestly, I only got that because of you guys. I think in our group chat, someone was just like, oh, hey, it went live. Or maybe I had a different friend that told me that. And so I was just like, all right, I'll order it. And if I don't feel like getting it, I'll just cancel it at some point. But I'm going to keep it because the chances of me, if I were to cancel it and then decide that I still wanted it, the odds of me being able to get it again are just, I don't see that happening. So, yeah, like Josh said, I would rely on Twitter and social media. I have a Twitter just to like get notifications. I don't really use it for that, but I really should for things like this. But yeah, don't just use Twitter, use Facebook. Maybe Instagram as well. I don't know if TikTok is helpful in any way. Probably not. But just go on social media. That's honestly your best bet. It is extremely frustrating. And what's even more frustrating is that companies aren't really doing enough, and they're kind of making it worse with practices like that. They are aware that these limited edition games get picked up by all these bots and stuff. They're very familiar with that. So having a policy for that is unthinkable in my opinion. So hopefully that gets addressed sometime in the near future because it's only going to get worse. And the only solution that I can think of outside of the companies making better policies is just getting ready for a digital future, which I'm not too comfortable with because that's kind of the only way around it. So yeah, it's a really weird situation. So Isaac, I feel you. Like I said, just kind of keep your ear to the ground with social media. Talk to your friends if you can get like a group chat going. First of all, it's fun, but also you guys can like keep each other in the loop with things. So yep, that's all I got. What about you, Paolo?
Yeah, I just have to add good luck, Isaac. Hope you can get your copy. I don't know, I just feel very sad with all this scalper thing. People buying a lot of copies and selling it for super high prices. I get really mad with this kind of stuff. But yeah, man, just good luck.
Yeah. Are you a special edition guy, Paolo?
I'm a physical copies kind of guy, like you. I like to have the little boxes and all, but I don't have a lot of special editions of games.
Yeah, I think it's only for like certain games. I know some people who get any special edition of anything. If there was like a special edition Hello Kitty kart cruiser or something, they would probably get that. But something like Metroid, that's a special occasion.
I don't do them a lot myself just because usually they come with stuff I don't really need.
Right.
I've got so much game junk from the past 30 years, and my wife would kill me if it gets too much more out of hand, probably. Like I don't really need the pair of socks and everything else that comes with some of this stuff. But I have found myself sort of loving tin boxes. Is it? I might have said that wrong, but
Yeah. Steelbooks.
like yeah, steelbooks. I got like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate in a steelbook. I think the first one I got was Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Wii, and that whole package was just awesome. It came with the book and all of this. But yeah, so that I don't have very many of them, but I've just sort of fell in love with those sort of cases for some reason. So if I ever see those, I try to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
I just have one of those steel cases, and it was a terrible game in my opinion. It was Perfect Dark for the 360. Perfect Dark Zero, I guess was the name of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Perfect Dark 64 I loved. Perfect Dark Zero was
me too.
Yeah. Well, one thing I just thought of to kind of help the situation is like, definitely make sure that you tune in for Nintendo Directs, because we usually get a heads up about those, and many times shortly after the Direct, a lot of these pre-orders go live. And it's, most people want the limited edition of Nintendo games. So that's usually the time to get ready for something like that. So just something I thought of now. But yeah.
All right. And then the next one I think we have here is Jacob. And that may kind of tie us into the topic, I believe. If you want to go ahead and play it.
Hey, guys, it's me. So sorry I could not join on for tonight's episode. I just wanted to call real quick about the OLED Switch announcement. I think it's great. I think it looks very like a sexy system. I really like the white on it. Honestly, it kind of gives me like Wii vibes back in the day when I first saw the Wii. I thought it was a really nice looking system, that white. With that said though, sorry, it has not all of the upgrades I think that we all were hoping for. I mainly play on my home console TV at home, so I'm a little bummed that it doesn't have a 4K upgrade like we had heard. The overall of the system itself for portable mode seems great, and I still have an OG day one Switch, and my Switch actually still works just fine. It's got its bumps and bruises and scratch and cracks, but it still works pretty well overall. But I think it's time for an upgrade. So either way, I still will be getting the new Switch. It falls October, I think, 8th, right before my birthday, which is the 22nd. So it's definitely going to be a birthday item for me this year. I liked it overall. I think it's cool upgrades they had. I just was expecting more, so I was a little underwhelmed. Not upset about it, but wish it could have been a little more. As for today's topic, I love the game. I haven't beat it entirely, but definitely get the DKC vibes, which is my favorite Nintendo franchise of all time. So kudos to them. Thanks for coming on to the show, and look forward to hearing this one. You guys have a good episode. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, Jacob. We're sorry you couldn't make it in here, but thanks for leaving a message.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm really glad that you are enjoying the game. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all big fans here.
And I think, like you all said, I think Jacob sort of had similar feelings on the new Switch model there. But it is what it is.
I think it's gorgeous. I agree with him. I like this white vibe of consoles. I'm really into the first Xbox 360 that came out, the Wii. I like the PlayStation 5. I know it can be controversial, the design, but I think it's cool. I like the white system as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty cool that like we kind of had this whole white phase, and then that went away, and then everything became black, and now everything's white again. I think the PlayStation 5 is gorgeous. I don't know why people don't like it. I know it's very odd looking, but I think it's just very interesting and artsy and different, and I like that. I don't like having every system looking exactly the same. I like a little bit of personality in the system itself. Yeah. So, I say that about the PlayStation 5, but going back to this Switch OLED model, it's the same thing. It's just white. A white border would have been kind of cool, but I think a lot of people wouldn't be too thrilled about that. But one thought that I do have on the Switch OLED, and probably the main reason why I won't be getting it, is because it's an OLED screen, and OLED screens are not meant for static images, which video games definitely have. So you're going to have your health bar and a lot of things around. So I'm just worried about burn-in or burnout, whatever it's called, because I'm a collector. I like to have things for a long period of time, and OLED screens do not lend themselves to collectors. So I kind of do worry about that. At the same time, OLED screens have evolved extremely over the past few years. A lot of people with the original iPhone 10, those screens hold up just fine, surprisingly. So who knows? Maybe it'll hold up just fine. I don't know, but just a concern that I have. But you are right. You're right, Paulo. I think it does look really beautiful. Yeah.
Nice.
And I will say, as odd as the Series X looks, my cousin did find a great use for the little mini fridge. That it seemed to perfectly make a throne for the GameCube when he set his Nintendo GameCube on top of it. Like it looks like it kind of fits there. It's almost like playing Sonic and Knuckles with something slotted in the top of it. Well, anyhow, I guess we will go ahead and jump more into the topic here. To kind of get us started, though, we have a couple Facebook comments, I believe. Chris, if you got those pulled up, we'll just go ahead and start with those.
So our first question comes from our good friend Kyle Martin. So Kyle asked a lot of things, but just in the interest of time, I'm just going to choose two questions that I think are the most interesting and things that I at least personally didn't think to ask. But Kyle wants to know what your musical influences are, and when did you decide that you wanted to be a composer?
Hey, Kyle, nice questions. Mainly my influences come from, I would say, progressive rock type of bands. I was listening to a lot of Yes, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, this kind of stuff. A lot of heavy metal as well. And I always listened to a lot of classical and game music overall. So I grew up playing games, and I guess that's when, to the next question, I guess that's when, since I was like 7 years old, I already had like a piano teacher, and I would put her in front of the TV, play some Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and she would come with the recorder and record some of the songs played in the ocarina. She would take home, learn the songs, and in the next class she would come and teach me all of the songs of Ocarina of Time. And I had only like 7 years old at that time, and I was already in love with that. So I guess since I was a little kid, I always was very involved in music and always wanted to make music for games. That's why when I left school, I studied music and I studied game development. I went to two colleges at the same time because I wanted to mix both things. So I guess since very, 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 very young, I knew I wanted to be a game composer.
Awesome. Did you study music and video game development at the same time? Is that what you mean? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I started actually game development college. I started the game development college, and 1 year after, I started the music college. And then for like 1 year, I went to both at the same time. And then programming got really hard, and I decided to quit the game development and just focus on the music side of things. Then I graduated in music only. But yeah, it was cool. I've learned a lot of different things. Oh, it was very useful to learn the basics of programming, the basics of game design and writing and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've at least discovered is that you kind of find yourself by experimenting with all these different categories and subjects, and sometimes you
Mhm.
find something just isn't for you, and even if you expected that it was, and sometimes that guides you to something that really is for you that you didn't
Yeah,
even really think of. So
for
yeah,
sure.
that's awesome.
It really helps, because when you're working with games, you have to be at least aware of what the other areas are doing. So it's really important to know how the animators are working, how the screenwriters, the game writers, sorry, the game designers are thinking. At least the basic, so it's easier to work as a team if you know that.
Great point.
So that's part of what I'm trying to understand myself now, is just where I'm looking at all these little classes, just individual things. One of them I took recently was for Unity. Just I was like, well, this seems like a pretty safe one to try to learn some about. I don't
Hmm.
really know anything about it, so I got it on my laptop and everything, and it started getting pretty complicated. And unfortunately, my laptop has seen better days, so it just wasn't having any more of that. So I had to sort of quit that one mostly because of my laptop. But it was interesting to at least, if I would pursue that more or not, it was at least interesting to me to see just a little more of how everybody sort of works in different ways. And, it all has to come together at some point as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting to me, even if that's, not something I would personally go back to myself.
Hmm.
So I can sort of relate to that one.
Cool.
Math sort of chased me out of college at one point.
It chased a lot of people out of
Yeah.
college. Yeah. But I mean, this interview isn't about me at all. But if there's one thing that I've learned in life, is that life just has a funny way of kind of discreetly guiding you to where you need to be. You just really need to put yourself out there and follow what you know you love. That's just the best starting point for anything. And so, just listening to Paolo's story, he loves Ocarina of Time. He loves music, and that eventually led him to find where he is right now. So, yeah, hopefully that helps some people who might be listening. Um, our other question comes from Michael Perricone. And so he also has a few questions. So he just wants to know really what other projects do you have going on that you might be working on? And he also just wanted to add that this is good timing since I just finished the game and the music was equally as great as the gameplay. Thank you very much for recommending this gem. I think Josh did that. But yeah, we have a lot of fans for your game.
That's so cool. It's Michael.
Yes.
Thanks so much, so much. Really appreciate it. Um, yeah, I've been working a lot of different stuff. Um, actually, doing Kaze was like my part job, something that I did during the nights or the weekends. So since 5 years since we started, and it's 5 years since I don't get a really good break. Because I had other jobs, and I work at a game development company called Aquiris here in Brazil. It's the company that developed a game called Horizon Chase Turbo. It's a racing game. It's like
Oh yeah.
it
Yep.
was part of the PS Plus collection like a couple of months ago, I guess. Um,
It's
so yeah, so I work at
like it's an arcade racer game, right?
yes, exactly, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have that. I love it.
Oh, cool. So
Wait,
yeah,
did you make the music for that game?
no, that was Barry Leitch. He's from Scotland, but he lives in America. He
Okay.
made the music for the game. Like famous old guy from the industry, very experienced. But I work on the sound design of this game a little bit. So yeah, so I work at Aquiris, and we currently I'm a part of the team that works at Looney Tunes World of Mayhem. It's a mobile game. Um, we are also working on a game that's released a few months ago called Wonderbox. It's an iOS exclusive game. It's like a game that you create your own levels and you can share your adventures. It's a
Cool.
really cool game. Very proud of that. And yeah, and we have other projects coming that I can tell a lot about yet. So yeah,
Very nice.
so yeah, doing a lot of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, we can all look forward to your upcoming announcements, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Cool. So those are all of our Facebook questions. So thank you everyone for your submissions.
Thanks.
So to jump more in the topic there, I guess we've already hit a lot of different questions here, so I don't want to bombard you too much. But no, one of the things I was personally curious about myself too is, some of your inspirations, and I know you mentioned Ocarina of Time. It was one of the games you even sort of learned from. I have to say, like, it would be hard to find a much better soundtrack, I feel like, to sort of learn off of. So that's pretty cool. But was any other game sort of that sticks out for you that maybe even would be a little more, what's the word? I was going to say that's just sort of a personal favorite of yours, perhaps, that you grew up with, or that sort of
Mhm.
helped you to sort of fall in love with games, so to speak,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Definitely. Yeah. Actually, I was this last weekend. I was just going through some old magazines, when they had like game magazines, like Nintendo Power and all that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm very nostalgic, so I'm really happy that I'm here, Nintendo nostalgia. And I guess the game that really made me fall in love with video games was Final Fantasy VIII for the PS1. I'm 31, so I guess I was like 8 years old at that time. And I remember buying all magazines that had this game. By that time, it hasn't come out yet. Yeah, I remember reading magazines about this game, and I was in love with it even before playing it. And when I played it, the music was also so fantastic. Nobuo Uematsu, like, he's my favorite composer. He's like probably my biggest inspiration as a composer. So yeah, I grew up like playing JRPGs, especially Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth. And talking more about Kaze. Do you guys say Kaze or Kaze?
I used to
We
say
were hoping
Kaze.
you would know.
I used to say Kaze, but now I say Kaze. I forget
Okay.
where I heard it pronounced like that, but I'm stuck with Kaze
Yeah.
for.
Okay,
I
so
say Kaze, it just sounds a little fancier.
okay, just a quick parenthesis then. The word is the correct way of saying the word is kaze because it's from the Japanese wind, kaze.
Oh.
But for us Brazilian, the developers, it was much easier to say case, so we always said case because we can Americanize things. It's easier for us, case. But then we realized that a lot of people say kaze, and now we just like, you can say however you want. It's cool that you're talking about our game. Feel free to pronounce it how you like. But I probably will say here Kaze because Kaze it's easier for me. So yeah, maybe for Kaze, then my biggest reference was David Wise from Donkey Kong, of course. I love that the old school type of making music, very melodic. Nowadays music in games is more like giving the correct vibes. It's like of immersive music, but sometimes you don't have a lot of melodies, strong themes. It's more about creating the mood. And that's why I love the music from games from the 90s. It's more about making a good music, a catchy melodic theme. And so yeah, David Wise was a big inspiration for me.
I could definitely understand that one. David Wise has always been one of my favorite composers growing up. And I think there's something about, and maybe you'll understand this a little bit better, but I almost feel like there was more limitations back around the 90s,
Yeah,
that sort of brought out a different feel, than what it is now. I mean, I'm not saying that, there's some awesome soundtracks out there now, but I still feel like, and maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but I feel like there's just sort of a different feel to it. I guess again, it's sort of that limitations. They had to stick to this and use these type of sounds or instruments or what have you.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah, I guess it's because I don't want to limit myself by saying that because this is just a small portion of this, but I think it's just that the technology made composers make good music. They have these limitations and they have to make a good team. It must stick out. It must be good, and nowadays, since the technology, it's everything more advanced, I guess the music is serving a different purpose in the game. That's what I want to say. I mean, I am talking about AAA games, of course. The music is more like a background. It's more to create moods and not to have to be as important as the rest of the game. It's much more about just setting the mood for players most of the time, and then at specific points like cutscenes or trailers and specific parts of game, then the music can stand out. But most of the times, music is just like a background for immersion.
Yeah.
And I, I, I definitely like. I'm obviously not a composer, and that I would not know nearly as much as you would on the subject, but I feel like a lot of times it sort of goes in hand with the narrative or the feeling of a game, such as like I think of Donkey Kong 64 and Grant Kirkhope. Like that game's sort of silly. Like there's some goofy narrative to it, and it's kind of cartoony, and some of the tracks in that sort of reflect that. So I feel like it's just all kind of cohesive. It all comes together. I just find that interesting.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to make sure to tell you that I love the music in this game. This is a game that I pre-ordered when I heard about it, and it was on my backlog for a while. But when I heard that we were going to be doing this, I was like, okay, let me jump into this now. And I was blown away by the music, because one of the best parts of any game is an amazing soundtrack, and you absolutely delivered that with this game. Like seriously, I loved every single track that I heard. So excellent job. And
thanks so much, Chris. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. It was such a treat to listen to. It's really cool because the music that you developed brings out everything that I would expect from that type of a game, and it's exciting, it's mysterious, it's like colorful and sound. It has all these different types of sounds and instruments and all these different layers that you wouldn't think would go together so well, but they do, and they just create this really unique sound. So I just thought that was so perfect for a platformer, and it just makes the game feel like it has this like high budget, and so I just wanted to make sure to compliment you on that. I loved the soundtrack. I do have a question. So it's clear that like Kaze is inspired by a lot of different like platforming masterpieces over the years. So how do you balance borrowing from these types of inspirations but still creating something that's entirely new with Kaze?
First of all, thanks for your words, Chris. It means a lot. It's so good to hear that. And about the music, it was a little bit challenging at first, because we had to find the correct identity of the soundtrack. So we wanted to have a vibe that is similar to Donkey Kong. This counts for the whole game, actually, not just for the music part, because we wanted to feel a little bit like Donkey Kong. Our main reference is Donkey Kong, so we wanted to feel like it, but not the same thing. So what is important in this aspect of the game? Music. What is Donkey Kongish? Okay, it's melodic. It uses those kind of ethnic instruments. It has percussion. But how can I make it sound like a different thing, not exactly the same? So okay, so we did a lot of music. We redid a lot of music. So okay, so the progressive rock background might help. So I can add some guitars. Okay, so the main team now has guitars. Actually, just a curiosity here is that a developer came up to me with a Naruto reference, the anime Naruto, and he said, try something like this. It has percussion, it's ethnic, but it has some guitars. Maybe you can add that to a David White song, and then something new can come out of this. And that's what I did. So I tried to play some guitars with his advice, and with the melodic things, the percussion, And that's how we started to get on the right path. We wanted it to be more tribal than Donkey Kong, a little more aggressive, more the percussion, but a little more strong. And that's how we found the identity of the music in the game. So the same goes to your other question about the other things as well. We try to look at the aspects of our main references, and Donkey Kong being one of them, and trying to figure out what we can change, what would be in a nowadays game, in a modern game. So we start with a lot of quality of life. Things like we don't have like a life limit. Players can retry the levels whenever they want. If they fail on a bonus stage, okay, he doesn't have to go to the beginning of the level and start all over again. He can just retry that on time. Like those little systems, we start thinking on them like, okay, this mechanic, we can make it a little more friendly to players. So mechanically, that's something that we always thought. I don't know what else. I wish I had like a game designer here with me to help me with this question.
No, it's okay. I kind of meant more with the music, but you kind of touched on the music and the game design, like both of those. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Out of curiosity, were there any other inspirations outside of Donkey Kong Country that you could think of? Because I got these vibes from other past games, but I just couldn't pinpoint what those inspirations could be. I was thinking like maybe Kirby or Sonic, maybe.
Yeah, that's the fun thing is that
For sure.
Kaze was first designed to be a Sonic reference game. Not a lot of Donkey Kong, but more of Sonic. So a lot of the assets in the beginning of the project were taken directly from Sonic. So yeah, definitely we have a big inspiration from Sonic. Even though now the gameplay and the game feels like DK, Sonic was important. Rayman, I guess the Rayman games from the 90s. Also the new Rayman games, they have some boss battles. We got some inspirations from Rayman games. I guess a little bit of Mario. Yeah, we try to make Kaze it's like a love letter to the classic platformers from the 90s. So sometimes people say that when they play the game, they make a comparison with games that I haven't played and we haven't fought as a reference. But to me, that's the goal achieved. We didn't think of that, but this person is relating our game to something that was from that time, from that genre. We just didn't think about it, but it was a success, I guess, because they are comparing to a platformer from the 90s, and that was the main goal.
Yeah. And good platformers from the 90s as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I noticed just going through it. Again, it may sort of wear some of its Donkey Kong Country references on its sleeve, so to speak. With the K and the A, the Z and the E letters and all of that. Yes, fine. But at the same time, like I don't feel like it was like a cheap copy, so to speak, or anything like that. I feel like it's very much its own thing. The character, the music, all of it, like it doesn't. It kind of brings you back, but it doesn't feel like a lesser than copy. It feels like its own, solid thing all by itself. So I really appreciated that. I just, of course, the gameplay. It's one of those weird things where it's like looking back, I sort of like to critique things, and I'm like, I can't really think of anything that really felt off, that bothered me. It's I guess I can't say too much, or you couldn't either way. Anyways, but it's one of those things I'd love to see more of in the future. And I guess I caught some of the references you had mentioned. I don't know if this is one of them, but like with Rayman, specifically like Rayman Origins and Legends, there was some sections that sort of brought me back to that, and then I could say the same with like mostly the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country series. It almost feels similar to a Donkey Kong Country 4, which is fine with me anyway because it's one of my favorite series of all time anyhow. But yeah, it's interesting to see how you can sort of take different. You can sort of make references to multiple things at once, but at the same time, it still feels like its own thing so much, just sort of by itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
About Rayman, I guess it was Origins and Legends. I think some of the chasing segments.
Yeah.
Our game designers use those as a reference. To be honest, yeah.
And I know this is probably more on a different department, so to speak, but the one of the earlier special stages where the ground disappears, it just drops, and boxes and stuff are floating. I thought I broke the game when I first played it. It's like, oh no, this is part of the trick here. Okay, okay, that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's the level I think people get very confused. It's like this is the level I think if we had to go back and redo something, I think this is the level that I don't know. It doesn't feel very. I wish it was more clear to the player that it's not a bug. It's just the level is supposed to be like that, to make some way to
Well, I think it made it even better. I feel like it made it even better once I realized it wasn't a bug. It was like, oh, I felt like the makers were really trying to get in my head a little bit, and it sort of worked. So,
yeah, a nice surprise.
I like that. Oh.
Well, I have a question for you. So, what's a misconception that people might have about being a game composer, or something that people might not fully understand about your job?
Interesting question. I think that's valid for a game composer, but as a sound designer too, is that you spend most of your time not making music or creating sound, but using the engine of the game, working on Unity, on Unreal, whatever, working on spreadsheets, like documenting. We do a lot of documentation when we are working with games. So, we spend a lot of time looking at spreadsheets. And so I guess that's a misconception. I would say it's more than 50% of the time you're not actually producing, you're doing other stuff. More than that, I would say you have to think technically a lot. It's not just about making a music, a cool music. You have to think how it will work in the game. So you have to think the behaviors, the triggers, how the game programmer will call your music in the game, like, in the scene, how it's gonna loop, where it's gonna loop, depending on what is happening on the screen. The music's very interactive, so it's maybe they fall under the same thing, under the same belt. You're not just making music. You have to think a lot about other stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I really appreciated your point before, where it's like you highlighted that it's a very collaborative process. It's not just you making this music in a vacuum. You have to work with the programmers and the director and all these other people and make sure that you're all on the same page and have the same vision. So I think that was really interesting. Yeah. Yeah,
for Kaze, we developed the process. I'll start to say Kaze now. For Kaze, we developed the process of because when we started this project, we had a lot of. I was starting at Game Audio because I don't think I said that, but when I finished my music school, the music college, I went to live in the United States for a couple of years, and I lived in San Francisco, and I did specialized myself in making digital audio for games. And then when I came back to Brazil, it was 2014. So like 1 year right after this, it's when I started to work on Kaze. So I was not very experienced. So what I was doing was creating music, doing exactly the thing that I said it's not like it is actually. So I was just doing the whole music and sending to the other devs, and they were like, okay, but this is not going to work because of this technical aspect, or we should give more feedback. We should have more feedback during the process and not just during the final music. So yeah, it's basically what you said. You're always communicating with other team members. So we developed this process where, okay, I'll just do 15 seconds of music. Okay, now check like three options of 15 seconds of music. Okay, now the other devs will check those out. We'll talk about it. Okay, this is the path. This is the B version is the one we want to go on with. So I just write 1 minute of music or 45 seconds. Then I validate with them this process, how it's going. Okay, now you can finish the song. And that's how things start to get more smooth. The process started to get more smooth when I started doing that.
Cool.
I know this is probably sort of a very general question that a lot of people would ask, but especially with looking into different aspects of game development myself, and I don't know if this would necessarily be a track I would take or not, but is there any good sort of tips or places to really get started that you would recommend for someone who's interested in what you're doing, or something a lot like what you're into?
Are you talking about game development in general, or music for games, or sound design for games?
Specifically for sound design for games, or for game music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know we do have a few listeners who kind of have an interest in something like that. Mm-hmm. So I guess they might be interested to see any tips you might have in getting into the industry.
Yeah, my advice would be to always study a lot, independent if it's game music or just game development in general. Making games, it's pretty hard, and making music for games is very specific. There's the technical side of things, like I said before. So it's really important. You don't have to pay for a course, even though that would be maybe easier to learn that way. But there's a lot of online things you can find. And that's cool because you can get degrees by doing distant, study over online, studying online. So you don't have to go to a present classes for that. So yeah, I guess you can watch a lot of cool stuff on YouTube. There's, one of the most famous channels, the 8-Bit Music Theory. It's like really good channel for those who are into game music. And he dissecates the music of some of the classic games, so you can understand maybe the mind of the composer behind some classic game music. Yeah, I would say, I don't know if I have any specific advice, go to this school, do this,
okay. But
just study in general, because it's important to understand the specifics of game audio and game music. So yeah, it's just not, I don't think it's valid to just study music, go to the music college and study music. No, try to be specific. Even if you're not paying for a course, like go online. There are free courses you can start with. Maybe there are some courses that offers like first part of the course you can do for free, and then you can pay. So just study, understand the specifics of game audio.
So, we've kind of talked about how Kaze gives us all these nostalgic feels for all these games that we love growing up. So I wanted to ask, what did you want players to feel when they were listening to your music and the sounds that you created?
I wanted them to be teleported back in time. I wanted them to feel like we are on an adventure. So that's what I try to make with the teams. I want them to feel like as if they were in a different world, a magical world. I wanted to feel some strangeness of the instruments. We have a lot of different biomes in the game, so I want them to feel like a fantasy, forest, a fantasy swamp, a fantasy lava, a volcano. So I would just want to teleport them to different places with this tribal feeling of the percussion of like something that is aggressive. And at the same time, I want my melodies to teleport them back to a time with this type of game soundtracks, with like heavy melodic music, that will stick in their heads, hopefully. And that's I guess that's that.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely will. I think you totally succeeded in that mission. When I was playing the game, especially today, I mentioned this before we started recording, but we've had a pretty intense thunderstorm. Maybe people might be able to hear it in the background, but when I was playing the game, it's just like you said, I was totally transported back to this time, not even just when I was a kid, but like just any time where I was playing a game and I was just totally transported into that world and felt like I was a part of it. And like you said, on this adventure that's exciting and mysterious and interesting and stimulating by making me want to, like, it just gives me the sense that there's other things to discover. There's missing puzzle pieces and all these extra secrets that I love in any type of game. So well done with that. I loved it and can't wait to keep playing it. I did want to get your thoughts on the indie game scene. This is something that has been totally transformed over the past few years, and I believe that the Switch is a huge part of that now. It was doing quite well before, but unexpectedly on the Switch, indies are just doing fantastic. Yes. So would you say that Kaze has experienced particularly good success on the Switch? And just was curious about your thoughts on the indie scene moving forward.
Definitely, yeah. I guess it was in the 2000s, 2007, 8, with the Xbox Live Arcade, that the indies really started to pick up. And surprisingly, I guess maybe nowadays Switch might be the more friendly platform for indie developers, which is, to me, it feels weird because it's Nintendo, how they are with, or how they were with those kind of things before. So yeah, I guess we're in a really good point in game development for indie developers. It's not difficult to put your game out there. Before, you had Steam, and that's basically that. If you want to have your game on a console, you have to be like Super Meat Boy. You gotta be great. Limbo, those indie games, but with big budget, or a lot of more experienced developers. I don't know. But nowadays it's easier. It's better access. You can talk to these companies. You can ask for a dev kit. And so I see. To me, we are in a really good spot. And I guess Nintendo, the Switch is probably the best system for indie developers right now.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are experiencing the success that you are, and I hope that you guys get even more successful. Something that I've noticed over the past few years is that the line between an indie developer and a third-party publisher, and sometimes even a first-party developer, is kind of blurring. And we now have Kaze, which thankfully has the excellent physical version in stores that you can pick up, which is now going to be on shelves alongside Mario and all the other heavy hitters. So it's just really cool that an indie game is going to be in that same ballpark and can experience success on its own separate from those other titles. So I'm particularly really excited, and it's not just great that these games are being developed, but that they're being successful and that they're reaching the right people, and people are excited to play these games and are excited for more. And they're these excellent developers with the great work that's being put out are being recognized and rewarded. So that's something I'm really thankful for, and hope that continues for you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I guess what I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say that definitely we got the partnership with Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft on our own, and that says a lot. We didn't need a publisher for that, and that changed like just a few years ago. But I can hear the thunderstorm now. Shit. And but we have a publisher actually. It's called Sodesco. It's from Netherlands, and they helped us to put the game on stores. So publishers are still relevant in the game development, of course. In general, they make the path easier for indie developers to put their game out there, but it's not a necessity anymore, and that's a good thing. And that's what I'm trying to say, that we got the partnership with the companies on our own, and then the publisher just gave like one small push to put on the store. So yeah, it's a good time to be a game developer.
Yeah. I was so happy that you guys were associated with Sodesco, because they've put out some excellent indie games, and you guys are very deserving of being up there with the other ones. I know there's Teslagrad, Gianna Sisters, I want to say like Owlboy was also with them. So
I think Owlboy, they just made the physical copies of the game, like they published the physical edition of the game. I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that in stores with the Sodesco, and I've been seeing more and more of this publisher's name on a lot of the games that I love. So it was so cool to see your game get announced, and then shortly after, you guys had a physical version right after, and a retail one, not like a limited run, version. Like people can find this in stores. So I think Sodesco's been helping a lot of indie developers put out some awesome work into the masses. So very happy about that for you guys.
Yeah, like you said, I think I had gotten my copy off of Amazon or something when it came out. I feel like usually a lot of times with the indies, it's been hit and miss with that. It might be limited runs like 6 months later or something like that. So it was really cool to see that, just sort of up front and center with everything else. And I'm glad to still see it. Like it still seems to be available. It wasn't sort of a one and gone thing. It's what I can tell. It seems like you can still find it. So that's really cool. And it's neat to just sort of see that industry or the indie side of things sort of evolve over the years as well. It still feels like it's almost a little young, I guess, compared to some other entertainment industries, but it is cool to see it grow, and hopefully more in a positive way, so we can get more good stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so used to these like corporate games that are kind of designed by people in suits, and they're like, this is our demographic and this is what sells, so go make this. But it's these games like Kaze that are made out of passion and people that just want to create something that's great, that calls back to these other masterpieces from the past and borrows all the best parts from them. And so that makes me really happy that there's like a thriving industry for that, and that you guys are doing well with that. So yeah, like I've mentioned before, I think we're in an excellent place with indies, and I just hope that continues.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, about what you said. And I don't want to irritate anyone, the listeners or you guys, but that's what makes me mad about like Microsoft, the Xbox, Bethesda conference at E3. Because I think that all games look the same in a way,
Yeah.
All the
totally.
first-person shooters with the, games can give much more than that. It's cool to have those games, but there can be so much different stuff as well.
Mhm.
I completely agree with that. I feel like something about again just talking about Kaze or Kaze or however you say it.
We should
Just
probably take a vote at the end.
it stands out. It stands out a little more to me. It feels it's more colorful. It feels a little more original, so to speak. Even the little story and whatnot in it just feels sort of fresh in this day and age. So I'd love to see things like this really take off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to hold you up too much longer here. I know we've been getting a little, I guess, at the episode, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to say I'd very much love the soundtrack for this game. I actually recently had it, some of it added to a little playlist while I was driving to one of our hosts' house that's like 5 hours away from me. So there was definitely some Kaze music playing on that drive along with some other things. So
Cool.
um, but I'm happy to support you guys, and I hope more and more people decide to go check this out if they haven't already. And keep up with whatever you're up to and any new games or things you've done in the past. I'd be happy to check that out and support you.
Like I've said, I loved your game when I was playing it. Like I was just like, okay, let's see what this is about. And I was like, oh wait, I really like this. And I'm like, wait, I love this. And then the more I played, I'm like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. So I cannot wait to go back and play this game. It hits all the right notes. It's exactly what I wanted from this type of a game. And your music takes it to a whole new level. Like, yes, the gameplay is there. It has very tight platforming and the art looks incredible. But, without you, this game would still be great, but you just take it to a whole new level with your music. And I mean, I've had all these adjectives thrown out before, but it's one of the best parts of the game. So
Thanks,
congrats on your great work.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, Kaze was a project we did and now it's Kaze. We did with a lot of love. It's a project made of passion because we didn't get any investment to make this game. It came from our own money. We spent like 5 years. To me, it was a side job, as I said before, like working during nights, during weekends, because we love this kind of games. We love Donkey Kong Country, we love Sonic, we love Mario, we love the platformers from the 90s. And to see people enjoying it, to see you enjoying it, it makes us super proud and happy. We're just coming out of a very dark times in our history with everything that happened, and one of the coolest thing was to see people playing the game during this. They can distract themselves when they're at home. So yeah, it was a special journey to me and to all of the developers. Yeah, thanks Chris, thanks Joshua for the invitation. Next time I can prepare my English a little bit better and we can talk more.
No,
It's okay.
You can call me whenever you want. And I just want to say to all your listeners and you guys, if you want to check out, follow us on our social media. Just search for Kaze and the Wild Mask or Kaze and the Wild Masks on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You'll find us there. And thanks a lot.
Great. Quick question for you. Will we see Kaze again?
Maybe,
We'll
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. I hope so.
Will be.
Cool.
Yeah.
I will say, one thing I did want to mention is I think we had talked about it some before, is my 6-year-old daughter has also seemed to very much like this game, and anytime I'm playing it, she wants to jump in. I've went all the way through it and collected everything, and I don't think she quite understands that those last few levels she might not want to start there yet, but she's learning. So I appreciate that. It takes me back to the days when my dad and I would play Donkey Kong Country, actually, when I was about the same age.
That's the thing.
So,
that's exactly what we want. That's perfect. Yeah.
So
that's the thing.
Just a special little moment. So
yeah.
Wanted to share.
So yeah, I don't have to be very secretive about that. I guess we might work on a DLC or something. For now, we're just seeing how the release of the game is going. So we started a few talks, but I can't reveal that yet. But what is cool is that if a Kaze 2 come out eventually, it will be a project with more experience from us. We want to make something that's even more different. The first game is very associated with Donkey Kong Country. Maybe the second one we can find new mechanics, something that wasn't, done previously. So if it comes out, I hope it's an even better game. But that's it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I mean, yeah, you've got my attention, and we'll definitely be following you for many, many years to come. But thank you so much, Paolo, for joining us. It was really awesome speaking with you.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot.
For sure. Thank you very much for jumping in here with us. Well, I guess with that all being said, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. I've had a pretty good time myself, so it kind of stinks to actually shut it down this time. But yeah, of course, you can find us at, if you all already know, here on Twitter at Nintendo_nostalgia, on Facebook at Nintendo Nostalgia, and of course the Facebook chat group we have on there you can jump into, and we get into all sort of nonsense there, and also on Instagram as well. And like he said, look for Kaze. I'm actually going to pull it up as I'm talking here real quick. On Twitter, it's at Kaze Wild Mask, it looks like. So I follow them on there, and Facebook, and all of those nice places. You can find them on there. And actually, I believe I've got part of your soundtrack, or the soundtrack for Kaze on iTunes. So I believe you can find it on there, and I think I saw it on Spotify.
Yeah, it's basically on all streaming services of music, so you can find it on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, iTunes, Pandora, anything you can think of, it will be there, I guess. It's supposed to.
Go check that out if you get the chance, then, sure. Well, we'll go ahead and shut it down, guys. You all have a great week this week, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Getting ready here. I have to go over the opening in my head every time. I don't know why that hurts me so much.
That's okay. I do it.
I'm blaming Jacob and Ryan for coming up with it.
That's true. Oh, they're gonna hear that in this recording.
That's fine.
Oh,
That's
well.
fine. They know.
Yeah.
All right.